Some of you. I know some of you like NIL and want players to get paid. But I also know that some of you, even though you might like it, believe that there need to be guidelines and resolutions to what state by states need to do. I don't necessarily completely disagree. However, this is the problem that I have. Now, in case you missed it, your head coach, Brian Kelly, along with Scott Woodward, Nick Saban, and Alabama's AD, who's slipping my mind at the current moment, went up to Washington, D.C. to meet with someone who else is from Louisiana and Steve Scalise in reference to NIL. Here's the problem. Do I believe that Brian Kelly, Nick Saban, Scott Woodward, and others have come up with a good plan? And I do like this. I do like Saban and Brian Kelly and Greg Sankey, I might add, who was in the room with Steve Scalise. I like that is the face of the SEC going. It wasn't Kirby. It wasn't anybody else. It wasn't just Greg Sankey. You sent Brian Kelly, you said Nick Saban, and you said their ADs, and Greg Sankey was in the room. I don't have a problem with that. I think conversations, whether you like DC, whether you like politics, I get what you're saying. I'm with you. I like that happens. However, Charlie Baker, who is the governor or former governor of the great state of Massachusetts, is your new NCAA president. And where my problem lies is not necessarily with what is going to happen in D.C., because here's what I do think is the truth if you listen to any of it today. Guys, the crazy thing about NIL is both parties really are kind of on the same page. They're kind of on the same page. They're going to get something done, may come later this year. That part does look very promising. We don't need to throw that by the wayside, right? Like, we do not need to throw by the wayside that, look, there were really good conversations on both sides of the aisle. It's actually a little heartwarming in a sense to see both parties working together for once. Regardless of that, this is the major issue that I have. And what might need to happen. Now, I know Charlie Baker was back in the back pew of the church clapping as this was going on, saying the NCAA needs to be broken up into parts. I don't actually necessarily disagree with him. I think that the Group of Five and the Power Five should be under like the NCAA, and then you have subsections where those entities, like a FCS or Division III or Division II, whatever, they all can have their presidents, right? Like, all of them have their presidents to where they can all rule what goes on there. Don't disagree with that. But here's the major issue in all of that. Now, regardless where you sit on NIL, Charlie Baker goes into D.C. not having a plan. The only person that had a plan was Saban, Woodward, and Kelly, along with Greg Sankey. They're the only ones that were there today that had a true, legitimate plan. When asked, Charlie Baker, and I'm paraphrasing, but I gave you the transcript on our Twitter. The problem that I ultimately have is basically today he was asked, what are some things that you need to see? And he goes, well, you heard what Nick Saban and Brian Kelly said. You heard what a guy from Ole Miss's Collective said. Basically what they said. You need to just add exactly what they told you to do. They already asked him, you're the NCAA president. You're the one that's got to enforce all of this. And he goes up there and he says, oh, well, I'm upset that there's no laws where people can face penalties if they break NIL guidelines. Wait just a minute. You want there to be someone to be arrested for legitimately doing a business deal? Like, so for an example, if Hurricane Ida hits and I'm paying someone through an NIL deal, and for whatever reason the bank doesn't transfer this young man's money because all hell broke loose, and somehow, some way the kid's mad and sues us, You want us not to only be sued, but arrested? There's a thing such called a civil court. You know, they keep saying the NCAA, the SEC, everybody keeps telling me, Blake, it's always about player safety. It's always about making sure the players are okay. Okay. You go up there today and say that there should be a salary cap on NIL. Okay. I will concede to some of that. Like, hey, your collective can't spend over $10 million. Okay, sounds groovy. Can't spend over 10 mil. Nobody can spend over 10 mil. But you have Charlie Baker out there saying, we don't have a plan. His exact words were, well, we would have to go back together and discuss the exact plan that we need. You were just up in D.C. How do you not have a plan? How do you not have a plan in order for NIL, the number one topic in 2020? It's 2023, I might add. We're over the 3-year mark since 2020. And don't say that Charlie Baker, that, oh, well, I'm just the new NCAA president. You were the governor of a state that passed an NIL bill. How do you not know what needs to be done? Look, I felt like I've been and come out here and said, hey, let's just be cool. They'll get it all worked out. I was chill. I'm going to admit something. NFL, NBA, NHL, whatever, PGA, fighting, boxing, UFC, whatever. There is only one or two sports that I love the most. It's college football and it's college baseball. I love both of them. We'll talk about them as long as I have breath in my lungs. And for the first, like, legitimate and real first time, I'm extremely worried that they just don't know what they're doing anymore. Today should have been the ultimate test, the ultimate, like, hey guys, everybody's got their ish together. Everybody's got their ducks in a row. Everything is ready to be done with NIL. We would tell Steve Scalise, we would tell Tommy Tuberville, we would tell all these people, hey, this is what's got to be done. We handed you over a pamphlet. Take out what you believe should and maybe add some stuff, some regulatory stuff, whatever you got to do. But here's our plan. And the president of athletics in college said, just do what those dudes said. Just do what they said. You think those people were writing notes? You think the senator from Wichita, Kansas is taking notes? You think that the senator from Montana really knows what's going on in recruiting in Alabama with the hypocrite known as Nick Saban? He can sit up there in D.C. all he wants. But if you put a salary cap on it, if you do anything in regulatory ways that you want to do it, you know what it doesn't stop? Let me tell you what it doesn't stop. Because it's known, and it's always been known, that every time that an Alabama kid would commit, here comes a challenger in mama's driveway, black on red. Here comes the Hellcat. Meow. Okay? You know that it would be in that kid's driveway the next morning. JoJo Earl decommits from LSU, signs with Alabama, and literally the day that he signed, that kid had a challenger. That kid was in a Hellcat or whatever it was. It does not stop Saban for doing everything that he does underneath the table. Doesn't stop Kirby Smart. Doesn't stop Jesus-fearing Dabo. It doesn't stop Brian Kelly. It doesn't stop any of them. It doesn't stop Lincoln Riley. It doesn't stop Jimbo. It doesn't stop Kiffin. It doesn't stop Sam Pittman. It doesn't stop Billy Napier. All of them are going to be issuing them dollars underneath the table. Doesn't stop Shane Beamer. All of them are going to be wheeling and dealing underneath the table. Here's the truth. Saban, Kelly, all of them, they don't want to know and show you where the money's coming from. They don't want to show you the price tag that they've been giving kids. And that's fine. But you know, I know, Santa Claus knows, the Tooth Fairy knows, everybody knows that Saban's got soldiers, that these elite coaches have soldiers that go out there and drop them bags. Bags of cash. You have a coach that literally in the SEC at Tennessee was putting stacks on stacks on stacks, as they say in the rap song, racks on racks on racks of cash inside of McDonald's bags. Thank God he wasn't going to Burger King. BK, have it your way. Here's some cash. No, he went to McDonald's where you can get the big deluxe breakfast, a side of pancakes and hash browns, and get a whole fat stack of cash. They don't want you knowing what they're doing, y'all. It ain't about them damn kids. Look, every one of y'all are in here are grown. Y'all all here are grown. You know, I know, it ain't got nothing to do with what money them kids is making. Who cares what money they're making? But Blake, what if they don't file their taxes? Who gives a shit?